from 2022. We probably will have some more midway through the season, but since the season starts April 2nd, we wanted to make sure everyone is ready to go and umpire. Um, just for courtesy's sake, please stay on mute unless you need to talk to me or have a question or something. Um, I will allow everyone to ask questions after a few slides or after a particular topic. So until then, just make a note of your question and then wait for the response. That way, we don't have people disturbing or talking over me. I'm going to go ahead and share my.
Can I ask, can I ask a quick question, please?
Sure.
So, I just you guys told me that my name is not there, so I just looked up this list, and my name is there. It's number 60th, in column A. If you just FYI.
Okay. All right. Thanks. Yeah. Don't worry about. Everyone's going to get credit. Rajdeep is taking down everybody's name, so he will make sure that all of you guys get uh, the exam or the questionnaire that comes at the end of this clinic.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So let me present. Is there anyone that cannot see the slides? Okay.
I called in. I cannot see the slides.
I'm sharing my screen right now, and yeah, okay. Sorry, I get you. Yeah, there is no worries about not being able to see, because at the end of this clinic, everyone will be given a link to the PowerPoint presentation, so you can always refer to it later. I was just going to follow through it, and so if you guys can view it, we can follow together. But if you can't see it, that's fine, no problem.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, Rajdeep, let me know when I should start. I know right now it looks like maybe 20 some people on the call, 25 on the call now.
Yep. I will keep on doing it on the side. So Ray, you can
go ahead.
Yep, please. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Welcome again. CACU stands for the Colorado Association of Cricket Umpires. CACU is a sister organization of CCL. It's a separate body. It has its own officers, has a president, vice president, and a scheduler. The scheduler creates the schedule for the season. As a group, the three of them are responsible for all of the scheduling, the running of the games, the umpiring, the disciplinary actions that need to be taken if something happens at the ground, making sure that games are run on time, and so on. So all that falls under CACU's jurisdiction. And once you become an umpire, you become a member of CACU. So, I think it's really cool that we have this separate organization that does most of the hard work that is required to run a league. So today, the assumption is that everybody knows the cricketing rules. We're not going to teach the rules. We're just going to review some of the important rules. We will focus mainly on what happens in a CCL game. And then Rajdeep must have already mentioned, but there is a test at the end of this. I think it's a 46 question test. You have to get at least 42 right in order to be certified. It's obviously an open book question that you can go in and look at the answers uh, uh, online or research them or however. Mostly our answers should be found on the CCL website. On the CCL website, there are CCL documents, and in those documents, there are some of the important ones that you need to know, like CCL general rules, CCL game rules, umpiring tips, and probably the CCL constitution and bylaws. So let's get started. Who is an umpire, and what are the qualities of an umpire? The umpire is just an official. He is there to facilitate a game. He's not the person that is the most important person on the field. He needs to be more in the background and let the two teams fight it out. So his job is to just facilitate and make sure that the game is running smoothly. um, in I always say that if the umpire is not noticed in a game, then the umpire has done a good job. If the umpire is the focus of attention during a game, then there is some concern that the umpire may have not played his role right. So remember that always, that your job is to just make sure that the game is running smoothly, and the two teams are the ones that are actually the important players on that game. Qualities wise, it's good to have good vision and hearing, because obviously most of your actions are based upon your hearing and your vision. But you also need to have good judgment, and you need to be able to control the game, not let it get out of hand. So you have to be a calm person who can make decisions that will keep the game under control at all times. Um, Obviously, you need to know the rules, but you also need to be able to uh, have build up a relationship with all the players during the game, so they don't look at you as an outsider, but more as a friend who is helping them out. Things that an umpire needs to have with him is, the main thing is keeping time. So you have to have a watch. Nowadays, the phone is the watch, so make sure at least you have your phone on you. It would be nice to have a ball counter, because it makes it very easy to keep track of the overs and the balls within an over. If not, most of us have been used to just carrying 6 stones and counting with the stones. Some people are good enough; they don't even need anything. They can mentally keep track, which is fine. It's good to have a pen and paper, because mainly to keep track of like players leaving the field during the game. You need to track when they leave, when they come back. There are consequences for a player leaving the field. You also need to keep track of any disciplinary issues that happen. It's better to put it in writing, because after a day or two, you might forget what exactly happened. So it's better to make note of things that happen. Obviously, you could make notes on a computer, on your phone as well. One thing we ask is not to wear white clothing, because we play with a white ball and it can become a distraction. So try to wear colored clothing. And also, it's not mandated, but something that I say is, dress proper. Don't come in flip flops and shorts and cut sleeves shirts and all that. Be properly dressed. I would say, jeans and t-shirts is fine, or a shirt and pant is fine, because remember, it's not just the game between the players, but there are spectators and there's people watching what's going on. And when they see something that looks official and formal, they feel like, here's a good sport, instead of just people playing for fun. And then lastly, as I had mentioned earlier, this is not a class where we will be teaching the laws. You have to know the laws. So you can always go to the MCC's website, and it has all the laws there. It might be good to download. There's a downloadable copy you can download and read through the laws. There's also CCL exception rules and CCL league rules that are slightly different, and you need to know those. And finally, Kaku is going to be you are a member of Kaku, and so Kaku will always be behind you whenever any situation arises. So you are not left alone there to fend for yourself. You can always call anyone in Kaku if you have doubts or concerns or something is getting out of control. You can always call any of the Kaku officers. Okay, we will quickly look at it. Everybody should know these. These are basic signals. For a bye, you raise one hand up. For the leg bye, you point to your knee. For a 4, your hands go across. For a 4 buys, your hand goes across with the hand raised. 4 and 6 and out. You all know that. No ball is one hand raised to the side. Wide is both hands. Short run is where you point to your shoulder with the same side of where your hand is. Some of the other ones that are not, we don't list here, are like the free hit, where you make a circle above your head. What else? If you have to recall a decision, you will cross your hands in front of you. If it's a dead ball, you kind of wave your hands around your knees. I think those are the main ones. Okay. Anyone has any questions or comments at this point? Okay, moving on then. So we will talk about pre-game, during the game, and post-game, what we're supposed to do. Kaku expects an umpire to be at the ground at least 15 minutes before the game. We recommend that you come even earlier, maybe 30 minutes before, because there are things you could do. You can check the pitch, you can check the ground, make sure it's good to play. All that is kind of your responsibility, right? You have to make sure the ground is playable. So you can walk around the pitch, make sure the boundaries are marked properly, that the 30-yard is visible, all that stuff. But you have to be at the ground 15 minutes before the match starts, and that's when you do the toss. As soon as you do the toss, you have to ask the winning captain what he wants to do. He cannot say, give me 5 minutes, let me check with the team. That is a no-no. As soon as he wins the toss, he needs to tell you what he's doing, whether he's going to bat or field. In CCL, all the players on both teams are supposed to wear uniforms. There is an exception for a new player. When a player joins a club, he's given 2 games where he can play without uniforms, but he needs to wear clothing that are the similar color as the uniform. So if someone's a blue uniform, then the new players should also be wearing blue. So if they're not, if you find anyone that is not wearing a team uniform, need to make a note, because you have to report that later. As far as the weather goes, we recommend you to not call off a game until you are very clear that the game will not happen during the day. If you just see it drizzling, do not call the game, because in Colorado, the weather changes so fast. In 30 minutes, it'll be bright and sunny. So do not call off the rain. We do have a rule that if the feels like temperature, not the temperature at the ground, but the feels like. So if you go to weather.com, there are 2 temperatures you can see. It'll show you the current temperature, and it'll also show you what it feels like. So if the feels like temperature is less than 45 degrees, you can stop the game. Don't call it off, but you can stop the game, because once the temperature rises beyond 45, you can start the game again. Okay. Any questions at this point?
Hey Raymond, quick question. So you said there will be a test shared after this clinic. So I think it was posted in comment as well. Like, do we need to give that test just after this clinic, or there is a time?
Rajdeep, how long are you giving?
You guys have you can take as much time as you want. There is no rush. You can take as many tries as you want. So as Ray mentioned, there will be 46 questions. Out of 46, you guys have to score. So every question is a 1 point. So out of 46, you have to score 42 or above. So 42 is the cut list. If you after submitting a response, if you saw that you scored 41, you have to take another try, and you can take that try anytime, just after the test or maybe a month later. So as long as you have that link with you, you can give as many responses as you want. And it's open book. You can you can take the help of the slide, PDF, as Ray mentioned, CCL documents on our website. So anything, that's fine.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, let's move on then. Okay. During the game, so the basics are, when the game's going on, the first thing is you have to keep track of when the game started. You obviously it will be recorded in cricket clubs also, but you should make a note of when the game starts. In our gully cricket, when you used to play, we used to call a no ball if the bowler doesn't tell you what side he's bowling from. That's actually not the right way to do it. You, as an umpire, are supposed to ask the bowler which side he's bowling from. And then once he's bowling, if without telling you he changes sides, or in the next over he starts bowling from the other side without letting you know, or even there are very few people who do this, but if you're a right arm bowler and then you switch to left arm, if something like that happens, then you can call a no ball. But otherwise, you should be asking the bowler which side he's bowling from. In CCL, the umpires change ends at the end of every over. There are a couple of grounds where the batsmen don't change ends, but the umpires will switch. On all the other grounds, batsmen will change ends, so the leg umpire becomes the main umpire, and main umpire becomes leg umpire. One thing that you should practice as an umpire is to both of the umpires should communicate. And by communicating, at the end of the year, you can, at the end of the over, you can have a small chat. But during the over, both main and leg umpires should be counting the balls. And when the fourth ball is bowled, you should make eye contact to make sure that both of you agree that 4 balls have in fact been bowled. If you don't agree, then you contact the scorer and check with the scorer. But first, both of you need to make sure that you guys are both counting. So as a leg umpire, it's not just the main umpire's task to count the balls. Both of you should be counting the balls. Okay. And then obviously in CCL, we do not allow runners. So if a batsman is injured, he has to either play as an injured batsman, or he can retire and he'll be retired, not out, and he can come back later. But we cannot allow runners in CCL anymore. You are, as an umpire, not required, or you shouldn't actually be keeping the score during the game. The scorer is doing that job. At the end of every break, you just go and check with him, check the scores at that point. Your job should be just to focus on the game, and just watch what's going on. In CCL, every team is supposed to have a scoreboard, a physical scoreboard at the ground, and they are supposed to keep that updated at the end of every over. So make sure that is happening, because the fielding team is not scoring, right? The batting team is scoring. So if the batting team starts, I don't think it's ever happened, but if the batting team starts cheating and adding more runs, the way the fielding team can keep track of it is by watching the scoreboard. So that's why it's important to make sure that the scoreboard is updated at the end of every over. Okay. Field restrictions, I'm sure most of all of you know this, but we'll go through. In a T20 game, the first 6 overs are 30% of the overs. If it becomes a shorter game, 30% of the overs is the first power play, or the power play where only 2 fielders are allowed outside 30 yards. After that, 5 fielders are allowed outside the 30 yard. Okay. In Premier, which is our 40-over game, the first 8 overs is the power play where only 2 fielders are allowed. Then the second power play is between overs 9 and 32. In those overs, only 4 fielders are allowed outside the 30 yard. And then the last 8 overs, 33 to 40, 5 fielders are allowed outside the 30. Okay. So if the game gets reduced, you have to look at it as 20%, the first 20% overs, 2 fielders, then the next 60%, 4 fielders, and then the last 20%, 5 fielders. There's always this question, hey, this team is playing with only 8 fielders. They don't have 4 inside the circle. Now, never count it as how many players inside the circle. Always count how many outside the circle, because the rule only talks about how many are allowed outside the circle. So even if there are 8, if a team is fielding with 8, they are still allowed to have 5 outside the circle after the first 6 overs, or the first 8 overs in a Premier. Okay, 5 meaning 4 or 5 in Premier. Sorry, but only look at the fielders outside, because the fielders inside isn't the way you keep track. Only 5 fielders on the leg side, and then in that quarter between behind the square leg umpire and the wicket keeper, that fourth quarter, you can only have 2 fielders. Okay. Continuing on, during the game, you have to keep track of the time, like of an ongoing basis. You have to keep track of time, and let the captain of the team know if he is falling behind on the time. Okay. In CCL, we allow 4.5 minutes for each over. So what that works out to is, for a 20-over game, the 4.5 minutes per over would become 90 minutes. And then you get 10 minutes for a break at the end of the 10th over. So one inning in a T20 should be 100 minutes. And then P40, because it's 40 overs, it's double that. So there are 2 breaks, and 40 times 4.5, that's 180 minutes. So total 200 minutes for one inning. Okay. When in summer, when the temperature exceeds 95 degrees, and you can probably check that on your phone to see if it's over 95 degrees, then CCL says, instead of 2 breaks, give them 3 breaks. So at the end of each hour, give them a break. But make sure that the overall time taken for breaks is still 20 minutes. So just because they get 3 breaks, they cannot take 30 minutes, because it will eat into the fielding team's actual bowling time. Okay. When there are delays in the game, or bad weather or whatever happens, you as an umpire should try to get at least 15 overs for both teams in a Premier, and at least 5 overs for both teams in a T20 game, because that is what constitutes a valid game. If the teams do not play 15 overs in a Premier, or 5 overs in a T20 game, then it is not called a completed game. It is basically an abandoned game, and has to be replayed, or the teams share points. So as an umpire, try to keep that in mind, and try to work on that, so that we do not have to reschedule a game. Try and get those minimum 15 or minimum 5 overs. When there is any kind of delay, CCL allows you to extend the end time of the game. So let's say a T20 game, which is a 9 o'clock start, that game is supposed to get over in 3.5 hours. So it should get over by 12:30. But if there is some weather delay or any other delay, whatever kind of, maybe an injury on the field, whatever, you are allowed to extend the end time to 2 o'clock in the afternoon. In a Premier, we allow you to extend a Premier game to 6 o'clock in the evening. And normally, it'll start at 9 o'clock and should get over in 7 hours and some 40 minutes or something. So you can extend it to 6 o'clock. And then the afternoon T20 game, you can extend it. It'll start at 2 o'clock or 1 o'clock, depending on the month. In CCL, April and October, the game start at 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock. From May through September, the games start at 9 o'clock and 1 o'clock. So it doesn't matter if it's a 1 o'clock or a 2 o'clock afternoon game, you extend the end time to 6:30 p.m. before you start looking at deducting overs and all that. Any questions on this? Okay, so weather issues, and I think this happens quite often and people get confused. So as we had mentioned, if it's a really cold day, you have to look at the feels like temperature. If the feels like temperature is less than 45, you stop the game, or you don't start the game until it rises to above 45 degrees. If your forecast says for the entire duration of the game, the weather forecast is going to be less than 45 degrees, then you may just call off the game at that point. Otherwise, the other thing that can happen is like rain or hail or whatever happens. We do get thunderstorms during the months of July, August, September. So afternoon games mainly could be delayed by a shower or a strong thunder shower. So in those cases, what you are supposed to do is first extend the end time, right? Like we talked, and then if it's needed for like a P40 game, you can start reducing the lunch time. You can reduce the lunch time to as much as 10 minutes. Normal lunch time is 40 minutes. You can reduce it all the way to 10 minutes. And after that is when you will start reducing the overs. So reducing the overs, we'll go through a few examples later on. When you're reducing the overs, if you figure out after reducing the overs that a 15-over game is not possible for Premier, or a 5-over game is not possible for a T20, then you can call off the game. But otherwise, you have to wait until that time where a game is possible, a 15-over game or a 5-over game is possible. So just for calculation's sake, if right here, if it's a Premier game, you want to wait until 3:35 p.m. because even if you start at 3:35 p.m., you could still get a 15-over game in. So do not call off the game until this time. Okay. Same thing for a T20. If it's a morning T20 game, you do not want to call that game off until 1:05 p.m. because from 1:05 to 2 o'clock, you have 55 minutes, and in 55 minutes, you can get in two 5-over innings. Same thing for the evening game. If it's an evening game, you're extending the end time to 6:30, and so you can wait until 5:35 p.m. to get a 5-over game in. Any questions on this one? It's kind of important that you don't know this. Yes, Madhukar.
Yeah, question. Are there any situations where you might call off the game before game day? Maybe the day before you see the forecast and it's lots of rain or very cold. Could you do that?
Good question. So you do not call off the game. The two teams, actually, the home team is the one that's supposed to go to the ground, check the situations at the ground. There is a field in Longmont, which is kind of in a bowl, so it gets waterlogged very easily. There's no drainage for it. So those teams typically, go to the ground the previous evening and they check the ground. And if it's really bad, then they will inform Kaku and the other team that they are calling off the game. Until 6:30, I think, in the morning, the home team can call off the game. So they can go to the ground, they can say, it's just not possible, and they can call off the game. After 6:30 in the morning, only the umpire can call off the game. So if you are watching on the phone that the weather is really bad and it's just impossible and the game hasn't been called yet, you can call off the game. We would recommend you to go to the ground first and then call off the game. But if it's a clear situation where it's just impossible, then you can call off the game. If you do go to the ground, you have to get paid. If you don't go to the ground, you will not get paid.
Okay.
Anybody else? Any other question? Okay, let's move on. So here, there's a few examples. I'll just go to the first one so we don't eat up too much time here. So we're talking about a T20 game. It was scheduled for a 10 a.m. start, and the match start was delayed.
Great. Sorry to interrupt you. I think Shashank has he raised his hand, so if you want to.
Oh, okay. Yes, Shashank, go ahead.
Hey Ray, a quick question. So when we are extending let's say the first game, which is a 9 a.m. game, do we also have to coordinate with the next game or the umpires in the next game? Because let's say the next game is at 1 p.m., but for some certain circumstances, we are extending the game to 2 p.m., the first game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, as a courtesy, I guess you could, when the teams arrives, you could tell them that, hey, we extended the game till 2 o'clock. But it shouldn't eat up into their time, because even if they start at 2 o'clock, they still have until 6:30 to finish their game. So you're not really affecting their game too much.
Okay, so we don't have to do it a priori. We can do it when the team arrives. We can mention it.
Yes, you can do it when the team arrives. Sure.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And this obviously is only when there is an afternoon game at the same ground. It might not always be the case. You might be the only team playing at that ground. There might not be an afternoon game. Okay. Any other question? Okay. So we were talking about this example where there is a delayed start. So as an umpire, what you do is, the first thing you do, because of the delays, you extend the end time to 2 o'clock, right? And then you will reverse calculate to see basically the moment you start the game, how much time is left. And based upon that, you will decide what is the innings, length going to be. So as we had talked, a total game for a T20 is 3 hours and 30 minutes. So reducing backwards from 2 o'clock, it's basically ends up at 10:30. So until 10:30, you do not need to reduce any overs. So even though the game was a 2 o'clock, 10 a.m. game, until 10:30, you are fine. You'll still get the game done within the required 3 hours and 30 minutes. If the game starts after 10:30, then you will start reducing overs at the rate of 4.5 minutes for 1 over. Okay, I see there is a question from Raj, but Raj, just hang on. let's finish this example. So assuming, let's say the game starts at 11:50. Okay. Now between 10:30, which was our start without any reduction, to 11:50, we have lost 80 minutes. 80 minutes divided by 4.5 works out to around 18 overs, right? 17.78. So round it up to 18. And then you're going to reduce 9 overs from each inning. So the game now becomes 11 over per side. Everybody, was that clear? Okay. You do the same thing for a P40 match. Now in P40, remember there is a lunch break. So you have chance of reducing the lunch break as well before you start reducing the overs. Anybody has any questions? Raj?
Yes, sir. Yeah, my question was around just, are we responsible for keeping track of just the overs that each bowler is bowling as part of quota, or is that the scorer is keeping track of that?
Yeah, in cricket clubs is very good, right? Online scoring, that gets taken care of. Now, sometimes a scorer does make mistakes, so when you have those breaks, you can go and check and make sure that the right bowlers have the right number of overs. But yeah, it's not your responsibility to keep track. Your responsibility is to go and verify during the breaks to make sure he's scoring right. If you feel like, during the break, if you feel like he's got the wrong names or something, you can always check with the fielding team for, how many each person bowled, because they will know. But no, you're not responsible for keeping track of who bowled how many overs. That is, in the scorecard.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, I'm going to skip over the second example. You guys can review it later on. That's another example, I guess. If we have time, we'll come back. But one important thing is when you have a reduction of overs, you have to use the Duckworth-Lewis app to calculate the target if the game had already started. If it had not started, you're fine. But if the game had started, then you have to use the Duckworth-Lewis calculation method. So make sure and download this Duckworth-Lewis app on your phone. If not, make sure that at least one of the two captains have that app loaded, because it will be required in case there is a delay of in game. Okay. Let's move on. So, the game is done. What do you do at the end of the game? You have to verify this.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. Can somebody share the right app? Because when I search Duckworth, I'm getting a lot of apps. Yep, yeah, Rajesh. I will send you guys a message. Maybe I will send it in the LMC group, and I will make sure that LMC guys are sharing it with all the teams.
Yeah, I think the one I use is the Taram one. It seems to work fine. But whatever Kako decides.
Yeah, I just want everybody to use the same app,
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Raj.
Okay. So once the game is done, you have to, make sure in the Cricket Club's app that the scores are accurate. After that, you basically call both the teams together and you do a review of the game. Basically just highlights of the game so that everybody gets a chance to appreciate what happened during the game. And then you are supposed to announce the man of the match. So the two umpires, you all should basically get together and figure out who the man of the match needs to be, and then make that announcement on the ground. CCL is planning on getting man of the match medals. So if there are medals available, the home team will provide that medal, and you hand it over to, or you present the man of the match with the medal.
Yeah, good question. One more question, Raymond.
Yeah.
So you said in weather interruption, if the game is already started, suppose the first team plays 6 overs or 10 overs, right? After that, the interruption comes. So we always should allow the first team to play all 20 and then calculate when the second team comes, right? We should calculate the Duckworth and depending on number of overs, we need to give them the target. And for a legal game, it should be minimum 5 or 10. So you can clarify those items.
So for a legal game, you have to have 5, right? Now, when you say you allow them to play all 20, that is not a true statement. It all depends on when the game restarts, right? If the game restarts within 5 or 10 minutes, and according to your calculation, there is enough time to complete both innings, 20, 40 overs of the game, then yes, then you don't reduce the target, but you will still put it into uh, if you still have a full 40 over game, you don't even need to use Duckworth Lewis. But if, let's say, you lost, like in that example that we were looking at, we'll go back to it. Where is it? Okay, so right there. So in this example that we looked at, we lost nine overs for each side, right? So in that case, the total game would only be 11 overs per side, even if they had started and played 6 overs. So you don't make it a 20 over game. It would become 11 over game, and the team would have come and played only 5 overs. Since they had already played 6, they would have come and played 5 overs. And then you would put in the Duckworth Lewis, and it would tell you what the target is for a 11 over game with a delay that happened after the 6th over. Yes, Gio.
So the app will help us to calculate that. In 11 overs, they may end up only scoring 80 runs, but Duckworth will tell the new target is 120 for the other team. Is it?
That is correct. That is correct. Yeah, Duckworth may increase the target or reduce the target.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, then.
Yeah, hi Raymond. To add on to Rajesh's question, in case the first team completes their entire batting, and then the second team says that they don't want to play. So, what is the umpire's role in this?
The second team says they don't want to play.
Yeah, they don't want to play.
Why?
So, what is the umpire's role? And it happened last season with among us only, the BCC Marvels versus I don't remember the opponent. They said that they don't want to play because the ground is wet and everything. But in our situation, the wetness was much more. So what is the umpire's role in this?
So the umpire cannot force someone to play, right? If they don't want to play and they leave, the umpire should forfeit the game in favor of the team that was on the ground.
Yeah, what I understand, Raymond, you can correct me if I'm wrong. The umpire is the decision maker to see which is safe and not safe, right? The umpire feels the ground is safe enough to play, but the other team says, no, we don't want to risk it off. But then the umpire can give the team which wants to continue to play as the winner, right? In this case, Raymond, right?
Correct.
So the umpire should be the two umpires should be the decision maker whether to safe to play or not. But the other team can decide to forfeit. It's up to them, right?
That is correct. So the captains do not have a say in whether the ground is playable or not. It is the umpire's decision to make that call. Obviously, the captains can bring it up to the notice of the umpire, saying, look, it looks like it's not playable. What do you guys think? But ultimate decision is made by the umpires. Even then, the actual rule says if both umpires agree, then only they can change an existing condition of the game. So let's say the game is being played and it starts raining. If one umpire says we have to stop and the other umpire says no, it needs to continue, then it will continue, because you do not change a decision unless both umpires agree.
Yeah.
So if the game had stopped, same thing, if the game had stopped and one umpire says, "Oh, I think it's ready to go," the other umpire says, "No, it's not ready to go," the game will stay stopped until both umpires agree.
Yep. Thank you, Ram.
Okay. So, yeah. So you do that, then.
Hey, sorry to interrupt you. Madhukar, I think he has a question, maybe probably regarding the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Madhu.
All right. One more question. So with reduced overs, so in that example, you showed that it was 11 overs per side. In that case, would you still have a break for during the innings and in between innings?
In between innings, for sure, you have to give 10 minutes between innings. You do not reduce the between innings because that's the minimum we think is required for people to go to the restroom, for batsmen to get padded up, for fielding team to come to the ground and set up the field and all. So you do not reduce the 10 minutes. However, you will reduce the 10-minute break because it's only 11 over game, and really they already had a break because of the weather. So yeah, there is no need to have another 10-minute break in between.
Okay. So is it just up to the umpire's judgment on how long that break should be if it's a reduced over?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, Kyle.
Hi, thank you. I had a question around what's the general guidance in terms of how much rain before you take players off the field. I was playing in a game last year where I thought the rain was quite heavy, but we stayed on. Everyone seemed quite happy to stay on, but I thought the rain was quite heavy. What's the general guidance?
General guidance is if the bowler starts slipping, or if the batsman starts slipping, or if it's just where when you're bowling the ball is just not visible if the rain is so hard. Typically, if it's slightly drizzling and all, you would continue play until it gets to a point where the bowler's run up is messed up and he cannot run, or like I said, if the rain is so hard that you just cannot see the ball as it's being bowled. Now we do have a rule on lightning. Okay, it's probably not documented well, but there are apps like WeatherBug which will tell you how far the lightning strikes have been. If the lightning strike is less than 5 miles away, you need to stop because it is really dangerous. So as an umpire, if you see lightning, you need to stop the game, even though it might not be raining, or it might be a absolutely fine. Both teams might be absolutely fine playing, but if you see lightning striking within 5 miles of the ground, you need to stop the game. We had an incident. One of my teammates in Colorado Springs got hit by lightning on the ground. He obviously he did not die or anything. He survived, but he did get severely burnt, and we are kind of really scared of lightning, especially up here because of the elevation. We are at 6,000 feet in Colorado, and that makes us very close to the lightning. It's very dangerous. Any other questions? Okay, so we were talking about post game. As part of the whole CCL scoring, umpires and captains are required to submit reports at the end of the game. And now umpires can report directly inside the Cricket Club's application. You can do it on the phone, or you can log into the Cricket Club's website and put in your umpiring report. But you can only do that after the home team puts your name as part of the game. They have to specify who the umpires were, and only then you'll be able to put in your report. So make sure and remind the home team captain to put your names down on that game. That way you'll be able to submit your report. And you have to submit your report by Tuesday midnight. So whether it's a Saturday game or a Sunday game, you have until Tuesday midnight to submit your report. It's not complicated. It's a really simple report. All that Kaku really is looking for is to see if there were any disciplinary issues that happened on that day, or if a game ran long, and we have to figure out who was the team that caused the delay. That's what Kaku is looking for, because we do have a lot of rules about delays and teams getting penalized. And what happens is a lot of these teams, after they are penalized, they come back and say, oh, that was really not a problem. This player got injured and that's why the game got delayed. So if the umpires do not report, then Kaku doesn't know whether this captain is telling us the truth or not. So we rely on umpires' reports to decide, what is fair delay and what is unfair delay.
Rajesh here. If for some reason the home team forgot to put our name, is there a workaround we can send the match report to any phone number or email, something like that?
Yeah, Kaku will be keeping track of it, and they will, remind the home team captain. But it is better if you do it at the ground. That way, we don't have to look at, situations where you were not able to put a report because your name was missing.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So we talked about reports. Now we'll get into some, real cricketing stuff. All this was just games, things what umpires need to do during games. So let's look at the LBW rule, because this is the one that causes the most headache, right? Bowlers feel like they got a wrong decision. Batsmen feel like they got a wrong decision. And, as an umpire, you get blamed even though you did your best. So we just want to make sure everybody's clear on the leg before rule. It's a fairly simple rule if you follow the guidelines. So we'll look at that. So it's like a flowchart diagram here. There are 4 questions you need to ask before you make your decision. The first question is, where did the ball pitch? If the ball pitches outside the leg stump, immediately it's not out. You don't even have to proceed to the next question. If the ball pitches outside the leg stump, not out. Now, you may say, oh, it was a full toss. How do I figure out where did the ball pitch? In case of a full toss, assume that the ball pitched where it hit the batsman, or, if it hit the bat or whatever. But that's considered where the ball pitched. So if it hit the batsman outside the leg stump on a full toss ball, again, it is a not out, because the assumption is that's where the ball pitched. So if the ball did not pitch outside the leg stump, then you have to ask the next question. That means it pitched on the offside or in line with the stumps. So then the next question is, what did it hit first? If it hit the bat, obviously not out. If it did not hit the bat, then he can still be out. So you go to the next question. Where did it hit him? Now, the assumption is it hit the batsman. It hit him, outside the off. It hit him outside the off stump or in line with the stumps, right? So you have to ask him, where did it hit it? Did it hit him in line with the stumps? If it hit him in line with the stumps, he can still be out. If it hit him outside the off stump, the point of impact was outside the off stump, then if the batsman was playing a stroke, then he's not out. So, let's say someone is bowling off spin and the ball is turning quite a bit. He's pitching it outside the off stump. Batsman comes out, he's playing the ball. It hits him outside the off stump as he's trying to drive the ball. Misses, and it hits him outside the off stump. He is not out, even if the ball was going to go to the stumps. So remember that. You have to watch where did the ball hit the batsman and whether he was playing a stroke. Now, if it hit him in line or if it hit him outside the off stump and he was not playing a stroke, then you go to the last question. where was it headed, which means was it going to hit the stumps? So if the answer is yes, it was going to hit the stumps, then he's out. Otherwise, he's not out. And this is a crucial question. Was it going to hit the stump? Because in this question, you have to judge, you know, is the bowler's previous deliveries constantly bouncing above the stumps? Is he a short person? Is he bowling, like a sliding deliveries, or is he getting good bounce of the pitch? Was this a slower ball, which probably, even though it hit him high, it was going to dip and go to the stump? Or, was the batsman so much out of the crease where even though it hit him way below on his pads, because he was so far away from the stumps, that it would eventually have gone over the stumps? So those are the things you have to ask. It's a crucial question. Was it going to hit the stumps? So if you follow this flowchart in your head, you will never get a wrong decision. Or even if you get a wrong decision, at least you will be convinced that you got it right. So always take a couple of seconds when an appeal is made to go through these questions and give the batsman out or not out. I'll tell you one example when I made a mistake. So we had this bowler who hardly ever bowled, and they gave him a chance to bowl, and he was bowling leg spin. And so everybody was, he was basically getting beat all the time. Or they were scoring heavily off him. And then he bowls this one delivery, which basically, he loops, it pitches outside his leg stump, and the batsman goes on the back foot trying to pull, and it hits him right in front of the stumps. And the batsman himself walked, and everybody was convinced he was out. And I gave him out. Only later I realized, man, that ball pitched outside leg stump. I should not have given him out. So, if you don't follow those four things, you could make a wrong decision. So always remember, go through these. Where did the ball pitch? What did it hit first? Where did it hit? And was it going to hit the stumps? Any questions on this? Okay, awesome. So here's some examples we'll look at. Scenario one is this guy here. So you go through it. Did the ball pitch outside the leg stump? Obviously not. Here's the stumps. It pitched outside the off stump. And what we are saying now is, even though you're looking at the batsman appears to be behind, our assumption is the batsman is on the line. Okay, so think of it as the batsman is on the popping crease. So did the ball hit the bat before hitting the pad? No, the bat is clearly away from the pad. Did it hit in line with the stumps? So the line of the stumps is here. He got hit here. So no, he did not get hit in line with the stumps, right? Did the batsman offer a stroke? Yes, he did. You can see that he's trying to play the ball. So at this point, would the ball hit the stumps is not even required to be asked, because at this point, the ball hit him outside the line of stumps and he was playing a stroke. So he is not out. Agreed? Okay, scenario two. This one is where the ball is, is going to cut in and hit the stumps. So did the ball pitch outside leg stump? No. Did the ball hit the bat before the pad? No. Did it hit in line with the stumps? Yes. Would the ball hit the stumps? So there's a mistake here. This is not a no. It is yes, because the ball is hitting he's almost hitting his thigh here, and it's going to go over the stump, and that's why the answer is not out. It's not. This needs to be corrected. It should be would the ball hit the stumps? Is no, because the ball would have basically gone over the stumps. Okay, so not out. Scenario three is this guy here. Did the ball pitch outside leg stump? No. Did the ball hit the pad? Did the ball hit the bat before hitting pad? No. Did it hit in line with the stumps? Yes. Did the batsman offer a stroke? Yes. But it does not matter, because if it hit in line with the stumps, you don't even ask that question. Did the batsman offer a stroke? If it hit in line with the stumps, you would go to the next question, which is, would the ball have hit the stumps? Which is yes, because it seems like it's going pretty low here. And so the answer is out. Scenario 4, again, did the ball pitch outside leg stump? No. Did the ball hit the bat before hitting the pad? No. Did it hit in line with the stumps? Yes. You don't even have to ask this question again. Did the batsman over the stroke? Would the ball hit the stumps? Yes. And so again, out. And then scenario 5 is obviously, ball pitching here. Did the ball pitch outside leg stump? Yes. You don't even have to ask any of these other questions. You straight jump to say not out. Okay. Again, this is that last one where we were talking about, is it going to hit the stumps? That's the crucial question, right? So here's an example of A. This guy is bowling, a ball that's basically bouncing quite high. And so you can see the trajectory, it's going above the stumps, so not out. B, and, I guess we have this here. So A is not out because it's a lifting ball. It would have passed over the stumps. B is not out because in CCL, any ball that is bowled above the waist is considered a no ball. Okay, so even though you can see the trajectory is going to hit the stumps, because it's going to hit him about at this height here, so it's going to be not out because the ball was above the waist. And then the third one is obviously is a looping ball that looks like, even though it's hit him high, it's kind of dipping down, and so it would have hit the stumps and therefore out. Now in example C, for example, if you felt like, it hit so high and you were not sure if it was going to hit the stumps or going over, then you could possibly have given him not out, because whenever there is any doubt in your mind, you should always give the benefit of the doubt to the batsman. Okay? So remember that. If there is any doubt, the benefit of the doubt goes to the batsman. Okay, again, I guess same situation. We probably don't need to go through this, as we've already talked about all this. Yeah, I'm going to just skip over it. No balls. So, as an umpire, you have to know what are the different no balls, and there's quite a few. Okay, so if the bowler's front foot oversteps the popping crease. The popping crease is the line where where you look for your runouts. The line, not the line in line with the stumps, but the one in front. It's about 4 feet in front of the stumps. That's called the popping crease. So if the bowler's front foot oversteps the popping crease, and remember, to the exact wordings or the right wordings of the law are, you look at it when the the bowler's foot hits the ground. It's not where it is when the bowler is releasing the ball. It's the first point of impact. When the bowler's front foot lands. Oh man, did I delete it? Are you guys still seeing it? Probably not, right?
No, Ray. I think we went away.
Okay, I'm going to share. Sorry. Okay, you guys can see now, right? Sorry about that. I just hit a wrong key here. So so it's where the foot lands, not where it is at the. Lot of bowlers, their foot lands and then it slides out or slides back in. Don't look at where it was when the ball was released, but rather where it landed. So if it lands and no part of the bowler's foot, whether it is grounded or whether it is raised, doesn't matter. If no part of the foot is behind the line, then it is a no ball. If it is on the line, it is still a no ball. Some part needs to be behind the line. Okay. If the back foot touches the return crease, so this is slightly different. It needs to touch. If it is raised and it's above the line, that's fine. But if it's touching the line, then it is a no ball. The return crease is the sidelines on both sides of the stumps. Okay, they are not the wide ball lines. The wide ball lines are much smaller. They are only 36 inches from the middle stump, but the return crease is 4 feet from the middle stump, or 4 feet from the 4 feet 4 inches from the middle stump. Okay, so any full toss above the waist is a no ball. Now in ICC or in MCC rules, they also look at what type of a bowler he is. If it's a spinner and it's a full toss above the waist, they don't call it a no ball unless it is above the shoulder. If it's a fast bowler, then above the waist is called a no ball. But in CCL, we do not distinguish between fast and spinner. Any bowler, if he bowls above the waist, is a no ball. And it's above the waist in the batsman's standing position. So that's important too, because some batsmen will crouch and that waist may come real low, maybe even come to like 2 feet, 3 feet. So you have to look at what his waist is like in his normal standing position. Okay. If the field restrictions are not followed, it's a no ball. Like in the first overs, if you have 3 fielders outside the 30-yard, then it's a no ball. If the ball bounces twice before reaching the batsman, and you are assuming at this point that the batsman is at the popping crease, not when the batsman goes deep into the crease. If the ball bounces twice, at least twice before reaching the batsman, then it is a no ball. If the bowler accidentally hits the stumps when he's bowling, either with his hand or foot or body, then it is a no ball. I don't know if it is listed here. Maybe it's listed in the whites. We'll maybe come to it. So go ahead, Himanshu.
So what happens if the bowler bowls the ball and the batsman misses it, and then there is a second bounce in the crease? Is it a no ball or not?
That's fine. If it bounces, the second bounce is after it passes the batsman, then it's fine.
Okay.
Before getting to the batsman, if it bounces twice, then it is a no ball.
Sounds good.
Okay. Let's talk about bouncers. So bouncers, CCL in the past would not allow any bouncers, but we've changed the rules, I think, last 2 years, where CCL now allows 1 bouncer per over. Okay. But remember, it's only 1 bouncer. So if a bowler bowls 2 bouncers in an over, the second one is a no ball. Sometimes that bouncer could be so high that the batsman is not able to reach it, right? In that case, the first bouncer is considered a wide ball. So you would call it a wide, but you would also count it as 1 for the over. So the bowler would have basically, even though it wasn't a bouncer that went between head and shoulder, it went over his head and the batsman couldn't play, you would still call it, as his 1 chance to bowl that 1 bouncer over the over. Plus, because it went over his head, you would call it a wide ball. If he bowls a second bouncer in the over, even if it was the first one was a wide, you would call it a no ball. Okay? Any question on that? Okay. In addition to calling it a no ball, you will also give the bowler a warning for unfair deliveries or dangerous deliveries. So a bowler can only bowl these unfair bouncers 3 times. The first time he bowls, you will give him a warning. The second time he does that, you would give him a second warning. And the third time he does that, you will stop him from bowling. Okay. Now this is a combination of bouncers and full tosses above the waist. These are considered dangerous deliveries, and so we keep track of those. And if a bowler bowls 3 of those, then you basically stop him from bowling. Now remember, the one bouncer that he bowled, in that over, the first one, is not considered a warning. That is fine. Only if he bowls a second one in the over, that is considered a warning. Yes, Himanshu.
So you are stopping him from bowling that particular over, or
No,
before the
he's
whole
done for
match?
the inning. He's done for the
Okay.
inning. You will basically tell the captain he cannot bowl anymore. Basically he was given 3. He's done it 3 times, and that's the limit that we allow. So after that, he cannot bowl.
Great, Rajdeep. Just to add to it, guys, most of the time what we see is like when umpire bowls the first bouncer, legal bouncer, like proper bouncer between head and shoulder. Umpires forget to give first warning. So bowler took advantage of it, and he will bowl the next one more, and then he will say that nobody informed him that the first one was the bouncer. So don't forget to give first when he bowls the first bouncer. Let the bowler know, and also the fielding captain knows, or the batsman know that first bouncer for the over is done. And don't confuse the first for the over, one bouncer per over, with the warning. The dangerous bowler bowling warning is a little different than the first for the over thing.
Good point, Raj. Good point. Yeah. So if you have to inform the bowler that he's done with his one for the over. Otherwise, he will not. He will think that he bowled a legal delivery that went under shoulder.
But I believe the leg umpire plays a very important role in letting the main umpire know if it's a no ball or above head, right?
Correct. Yeah, the leg umpire is in a better position to see that. Although any umpire can call that as a no ball. It doesn't have to be only leg umpire. Both the umpires have the right to call a no ball. But the leg umpire is in a better position to see, if it was over the shoulder. Yeah, Raj.
Yeah, regarding coming back to these 3 bouncers in an over, so you said like you will call off a bowler if he bowls 3 bouncers, right? It should be counted for the particular over or overall period of his bowling. Let's think he's bowling the third
Overall.
over and yeah, overall period.
Correct. Overall period. So in the
But
first over, let's say he bowled 2 bouncers. First one was legal. Second one was a warning and a no ball. Second over, he comes again and he bowls 2. First one was legal. Second one was a no ball and his second warning. Third over, again he comes and bowls 2. First one was legal. Second one is his third warning, no ball, and he's taken off. He cannot bowl after that.
thanks.
Okay. All right. So chucking, checking is kind of a delicate matter, right? It hurts the ego of the bowler that you are going to call. Nobody is going to admit that he's chucking. So the captain will argue with you. The bowler will argue with you, saying, I am not checking or anything. But you, as an umpire, you have a right to call any bowler that you feel is checking. However, this is my personal opinion. My personal opinion is, instead of calling him for checking, you call the umpire over, have a discussion with him, say, look, I think he's throwing. I would like you to stop him from bowling. Instead of calling him, just ask the captain to stop him if possible. However, let me still reiterate, you have the right to call a bowler for chucking. Okay, I typically would not call. I would call the captain. I would tell him, look, don't bowl this guy. I am going to report him anyway. And you should, in your umpiring report this bowler, saying this bowler action is suspect. Please take care of it. And then Kaku has a bowling committee that will take care of that matter. They will refer him to the bowling committee. The bowling committee will look at videos of him, or if another umpire has reported, then they will stop him from bowling in the league until he provides some proof that he's changed his action, or until this bowling committee is happy with his action. So just wanted to bring that up to your notice, that you have the right to call any bowler, but remember, it is a delicate matter. They may say, how can you tell whether it is the arm is bent 15 degrees or not, and just gets controversial. Okay, any question on that? But make sure and report that in your report if you sense that any bowler is chucking, because it is unfair to the game, right? We do not want bowlers that are chucking to be bowling in our league. But there is also a committee that can review the matter and make that decision. Okay, moving on. So we talked about the no balls, right? So these ones in red are no balls. So here's the front foot. There's the line there. It's above, in front of the line. So no ball. This guy is on the line. He's still no ball. And this one is something that I did not mention. But if someone is bowling right arm over, then that foot needs to be on the left side of the crease of the pitch. It cannot cross over to the other side. So you can see his foot is slightly crossing over to the other side of the other half of the pitch. So that's why it is a no ball. Okay, and then the back foot. So this is the stumps. This is the return crease. So if the foot is touching the return crease, it's a no ball. So this one's pretty much completely outside the line. This one is touching the line. This one also is touching the line, whereas these are not. And so this one, even your foot can even be all the way up here, the back foot, and it's still a valid delivery. The only thing is it cannot touch this sideline. Okay.
And just to add to it, to the last paragraph, if you can just show it. Sometimes people get confused with the back foot and the front foot. So this return crease snowball is just for the back foot. If you see in the front foot deliveries, there are two green balls where his foot is outside the return crease. So that's not a no ball, it's a legal ball. So don't confuse it with the back foot.
Right. So someone can put the front foot even way outside the return crease and still a valid delivery. It's only the back foot cannot touch the return crease.
I also have a question about this no ball.
Yeah.
So if the front foot touches the line and nothing is behind the line, is it still valid ball?
So right here,
So
this
this one
example, it is a no ball. Some part of the foot has to be behind the line. Like if you are playing soccer, football. In football, the line is part of the game. So in football, if the ball is on the line, it is still inside the field. The referee will not blow the whistle for throw-in. But in cricket, the line is not part of the game. So that's why the boundary line is not inside the field. As soon as the ball touches the boundary, it's a 4, because the line is not part of the game. Same thing with here. The line is not part of the bowler's valid delivery area.
And the front foot cannot cross the line of middle stump, right?
Yes, it cannot cross over to the other side. It has to be on the same side.
Got it.
Same thing with batsman, right? When the batsman is in a run out situation, if the bat is on the line, he's still out because the line is not part of the safe area. The safe area is inside the line. That's why cricket is slightly different. The line is not part of the game. It is or not part of the field. It is outside the field. So wide ball. So the wide ball, in the past, we used to have these wide markers. Even now, we will have the wide markers. And those wide markers are, from this season onwards, they are just reference points. In the past, in CCL, you had to bowl inside the wide line for it to be a legal delivery. But that has changed with this year. This year, the rule is the wide line is dependent upon where the batsman is standing. So if a batsman is in his normal stance, standing, he took guard and he's standing there, doesn't move or anything when the bowler is coming to bowl, then the wide line is the right marker. If the bowler doesn't bowl inside the wide line, you would call it a wide ball. But if the batsman moves and moves towards the offside, let's say he moves outside the off stump, just to get closer to the ball, assuming that he's thinking that the bowler is going to bowl wide, then that wide line will also move, or the reference point will also move to to make sure that if the ball is within the range of the batsman, you would not call it a wide ball. Okay, so that's a new rule, and it's something that you have to figure out for yourself. Did the batsman move when the bowler starts? As soon as the bowler starts the run up, the ball becomes a legal ball, right? Or it becomes a live ball. And from that point on, if the batsman moves towards the off stump or away from the right towards the offside, then the wide line also moves with him. However, if the batsman moves towards the leg side, assuming he's thinking that he will try and hit it, hit the leg side ball to the off stump, and the bowler bowls within the line, then it is a valid delivery because the batsman is the one who made it look like the ball was out of his reach by moving to the leg side. So you have to see what the batsman did. If the batsman moved towards the offside, then the wide line also moves away from the batsman, so that if a bowler bowls outside the wide line, you would still not call it a wide. But if the batsman moves towards the leg side and the bowler bowls within the wide line, then don't call it a wide, even though it was out of the reach of the batsman, because the batsman is the one who made it out of reach by moving away. Okay, is that clear? Okay, switch hits are slightly different. So switch hit is when the batsman will change his stance from righty to lefty, and change also the way he's holding the bat. In that case, both sides, offside and leg side, become valid for the bowler. So if he's doing a switch hit, then even if the bowler bowls on the leg side, it will still not be a wide because of the batsman changing the stance. It is different for a reverse hit. A reverse hit is where the batsman doesn't change his stance. He's just basically trying to hit behind the keeper, right? So in that case, the same normal rule applies for wide ball. You do not look at the leg side as valid. Now, if the ball goes between the batsman and the stumps, okay, between the batsman and the stumps, that means the batsman moved to the leg side and it went between batsman and the stumps, it is not a wide ball because it went in front of the ball. However, if the ball goes behind the batsman and behind the leg stump, then it is a wide ball. Okay, so remember that. If the batsman now, if let's say the batsman moves towards the off stump and the ball goes behind the batsman, but it goes over the stumps, it is not a wide ball. it needs to go behind the leg stump. Yes, Rajdeep, you had to some. Okay.
Hey guys, sorry, I was on a mute. So I've been, as you guys know, that we are at 9:30 marker. There are a couple more slides, and after that we will be done. So please bear with us and let Ray finish it.
Oh yeah, sorry, I'm running over. Let's move on. Okay, here's some miscellaneous things. So in Colorado, the pitches are not the same width. Some pitches are wide, some pitches are not. In Fort Collins, the pitch is only like I think 6.5 feet wide. So because of this rule, we had to make an CCL exception. In ICC cricket, if the ball pitches outside the pitch, or I guess the away outside of the grass, then in ICC it is called a no ball. However, in CCL, because the pitches are not the same width, we said if a ball pitches on the grass, it will be called a wide ball and a dead ball immediately. So you cannot score off it. Okay. So it's not a no ball, it's a wide ball in CCL if it pitches on the grass, and it is called a dead ball immediately. Obviously, if there was a foot fault in that, then if the bowler's foot fault, then it's a no ball, and therefore no ball will always override a wide ball, always. Close calls on the boundary. Sometimes we basically use flags here. Only some grounds have lines, and so bowlers kind of use their judgment, or fielders use their judgment to tell you whether it is a boundary or not. If it was a close call where it's right on the boundary, the fielder stops, then we would ask you as an umpire to basically run up to the boundary and make a look, check it out to see if it was truly outside or inside the marker. Batsman getting hurt. A batsman has the right to leave the field if he's hurt. When he's batting, he'll be called retired, not out, and he can always come back to bat, but he has to come back at the fall of another wicket, or if another batsman retires. Only then he can come back to bat. Okay. Again, make sure you call out the end of the over. If you make a mistake, after you call over, you cannot change that. So, make sure you are clear when you are calling the over, and call it loudly, because as soon as you call it over, the ball is dead. Until then, the ball is not considered dead. When there is a left-right combination, typically if it's a spinner bowling, I say don't worry about moving around. But if it's a fast bowler bowling, then there is enough time for you between the balls. So in that case, make sure you move around to the leg side of the batsman. In CCL, during league phases, we do not have super overs. If a game ends in a tie, it is a tie and they both share 1 point each. Only in the playoffs, we get into super overs. Okay. In T20, we only use 1 ball. In P40, we use 2 balls. And each umpire has to take care of the ball. So when you are umpiring, your bowler will be basically bowling. When the over is done, you collect the ball from the bowler and hold on to it. And the other umpire will give his ball to the next bowler. So make sure you keep track of these balls. A new rule: when there is an appeal and you give someone out, and then you realize that he is not out and you want to reverse your decision, you can reverse that decision anytime before the next delivery is bowled. Okay. Earlier it was when the batsman leaves the field, you could not reverse the decision. So now it is, before the next delivery, you can reverse your decision and recall the batsman. We talked about you guys verifying the scores. Make sure you check it during the breaks and at the end of the match. And also updating the physical scoreboard, right? We talked about it. Umpire's fees: a T20 umpire is paid $40 by the one of the two teams. So each team pays the one umpire $40 for a T20 game and $80 for a Premier game. That's starting this year. You as an umpire can also be fined, remember. So if you do not show up on time, you will be fined $25 for the first 15 minutes you are late. The next 15 minutes you are late, it will be another $25, so $50 fine. And if it's more than 30 minutes delay, it will be a $100 fine. So remember that. If only certified umpires can umpire CCL games, if you are not certified and you go and umpire a game, your team will be fined $100. If you do not go to a game that was assigned to you, let's say you forget or whatever, something happens and you do not go, you need to find a replacement. If you don't find a replacement and there is no umpire at the ground, your team will be fined $100 and 1 point will be taken away from you, from your team's standings. Okay, and so these are some links. When we send you this PowerPoint presentation or a PDF, you should go through these because this is where most of our information lies. Okay, this cheat sheet especially is a good one because it gives you a summary of what you need to do. Okay, and then here are the contacts for Kaku and CCLEC. kaku-ec@googlegroups.com. You can send them any questions you have. Anybody can send emails to Kaku and CCLEC. Okay. All right, and I think that's pretty much it. We are basically done. So questions at this point, anybody? Yes, Madhukar.
If a team does not have all their players ready at the start time, then do we allow them to wait and then just note it in the post report? What is the protocol?
Very good point, Madhukar. I think we should have put this in our slides. So in CCL, you can start a game as long as there are 7 fielders on the field. Batsmen doesn't even have to be 7. Only as soon as they have 2 batsmen padded up, they can start the game. But you have to have minimum 7 on the field to start the game. So you would basically, as soon as they have enough people to go, you start the game. They can come in slowly, and we keep track of time, right? If somebody comes after 30 minutes, he has to wait 30 minutes before he can bowl.
Yeah, and Madhu, and to all the umpires, if this thing is happening like where the home team is not ready or anything, so if the game is scheduled to start at 10 o'clock, so 10 o'clock is the time when they should bowl the very first ball of the match. So if they're bowling at 10:10 or 10:15, 10:20, then we are expecting from the umpires that they should mention something that why the game got delayed. It could be delayed by the home team. It could be delayed by the batting team. So we are expecting from you guys to at least put something in the match report. Who delayed the game?
Any other question? Okay, well, yeah.
I have a quick thing to remind you guys. I know Ray showed the slide where all the CCL documents were there. So we are still in the process of updating all the documents. Actually, this PowerPoint presentation is very updated. I already updated all the other documents, but they are still getting reviewed by the other members. Hopefully, they are saying by the end of this weekend, they will review all of them, and we will send it to Karvin or Bodha, whoever will publish those documents to the website. So hopefully by Monday, they will all be there on the updated ones. And while reading those or while going through them while giving the test, if you find any mistake in that one, the contacts that we gave, like CCLEC and Kaku-EC Google Groups, please do send us an email. I know when you will give the test before Monday or before looking through the documents, there may be some questions where you will find because as they are not updated, there will be a little problem. But in that case, I will say go with the presentation as this is very updated one. Um, and do let us know if you find any mistakes and all that. We will update them.
Any other questions? Okay, then I guess we will conclude this session. Good luck to everyone on your test, and do not be afraid. Remember, a lot of this is just mental. People get afraid to umpire, so don't be afraid to umpire. It's fun.
Thank you, Raymond bhai.
Okay, guys.
Hello.
Thank you. Thank you.
All
For
right.
joining and bearing with us for going
I
a
have a
little over.
question.
Thank you, Judy.
Yeah, go ahead.
Where is the test? I mean, how can I take this one?
So you will get an email with a link to the test. It's an online test. And then basically once you're done, you just let Rajdeep know, or I guess once you submit, Rajdeep gets to see all your results. And Rajdeep, do they get to see their results also, or you have to send them the result?
No, they do. So when you guys will submit the response, you will get a message that thank you for your response and your score and all that. So even if I am little late while looking at it, or someone hasn't updated your certified umpire thing on the website, if you score 42 or above, you are certified to go and on the officiate a match and go for an umpiring. So you don't have to let us know or that I already code and nobody updated me, so I don't know if I can go for an umpiring. So you can, as long as you submit the test and you score 42 or above, you are certified. So you can go for
So
it.
are we gonna get the email now or sometimes other day,
Yeah,
some other
now
day?
I will make sure I will send it tonight, right after this thing. That's why that sheet was important. So I know there were a couple of guys whose phone number starts with 720-423. I put a message, but I don't think so they saw it, and so I don't know who those guys were. So if someone knows that whose numbers were those, and then I can send the test to them also. And there were a couple of other guys. I think Vinod updated the email. There was a Nitin Khandelwal. He didn't put his email, so those guys they will get it later. But as soon as if I have all the emails those guys attended, I will send it maybe within half an hour from now.
Yeah.
Should I
Yeah.
text your email address here or you have it?
Yours, I think I have it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Now, once you guys get certified on the CCL website, there is a link called Certified Umpires. Your name should appear there. If it doesn't appear there, give it a couple of days and then let Rajdeep know so that we can officially add you to the list. But it should pretty much happen as soon as you get certified.
And
Yeah, let me correct a little bit. It should, but sometimes there will be a very new players who haven't even played a match. So generally, if you are not there in the cricket clubs and that cricket club scorecard hasn't synced with the Colorado cricket website, so you may not be there yet because we can't change the flag for your name, or we won't find your name. So if you haven't played any game, your name may not be there. But don't worry about it. Like if the name is not there, as long as I have a record of your test response and all that, you should be good.
Okay. All right. Thanks, everyone. Good night. We'll see you
Thank
on the
you.
ground sometime.
Good night, guys. Thank you.